Pacific Islands Forum, Australia under pressure to rein in fossil fuel subsidies. Pacific Islands Forum, The Guardian. Skip to main content. Skip to navigation. Skip to navigation. US edition, UK edition, Australia edition, International edition, Europe edition, World, Europe, US, Americas, Asia, Australia, Middle East, Africa, Inequality, Global Development. Pacific Islands Forum, Australia under pressure to rein in fossil fuel subsidies. A fraction of $11 billion federal handouts could be used to fully fund the shift to clean energy in 8 island countries, report claims. Follow our Australian News Live blog for latest updates. Get our morning and afternoon news emails, free app or daily news podcast. Australia is facing fresh pressure to rein in fossil fuel subsidies, with new figures showing just a fraction of that spending could fully fund the shift to clean energy in 8 Pacific Island countries. The climate crisis is one of the biggest issues on the agenda at the Pacific Islands Forum's top political gathering this week, with Vanuatu demanding radical action to end the world's fossil fuel addiction. The Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, arrived in the Cook Islands on Tuesday local time, Wednesday Australian time, and acknowledged the climate crisis was certainly felt most acutely in island states. In a report published to coincide with the talks, campaigners highlight how Pacific Island countries are on the front line of the climate crisis despite being responsible for just 0.23% of annual global emissions. By contrast, the world's 15 largest emitting nations, led by China, the US and India with Australia in 15th place, are collectively responsible for 71.88% of annual emissions. The report was commissioned by the Fossil Fuel Non-Proliferation Treaty Initiative, a group that is campaigning to end new development of fossil fuels and phase out existing production. Island countries are still heavily dependent on imports of diesel fuel for use in generators, says the report titled Key Mua, Towards a Just Transition for the Pacific. It suggests that a mix of utility-scale and decentralized renewables, dominated by solar PV and wind installations, would provide the region with significant opportunities. These gains would include reducing pollution and improving public health while ending reliance on fossil fuel imports. It suggests developed countries like Australia have a responsibility to help. In the past year, Australia has handed out $7 billion United States dollars, $11 billion Australian dollars, to the fossil fuel industry, said Auimatagi Joe Moeono Colio, an advisor to the Fossil Fuel Non-Proliferation Treaty Initiative. That's 7 times the amount of money it would take to fund a renewable energy transition for 8 Pacific countries. The report estimates that across 8 Pacific Island countries analyzed, the upfront cost of replacing all existing fossil fuel electricity generation ranges from $691 million United States dollars to just over $1 billion United States dollars, depending on the specific technology mix. The fossil fuel subsidy figure is drawn from analysis by the Australia Institute think tank, which examined all federal and state government spending and tax breaks to assist fossil fuel industries in 2022-23. The single largest share is the federal government's fuel tax credit scheme, which gives businesses a tax credit on fuel used in machinery, vehicles over 4.5 tons and vehicles not used on public roads. The Australia Institute argues this tax break works to make fossil fuel use cheaper for energy-intensive businesses, such as coal mines. But the mining industry has repeatedly rejected the characterization of this as a subsidy. Moeono Colio said if Australia wanted to host the 2026 UN Climate Conference in partnership with the region, then the first step is to start caring for Pacific peoples and stand with us instead of blocking the Pacific's efforts as it has done for decades. Vanuatu's climate minister, Ralph Regenbanu, called for a sustained, radical phase-out of fossil fuels because the world had run out of time for slow and steady action. Tuvalu's finance and climate minister, Sef Painu, added, it is high time for wealthy, fossil fuel-producing countries that are largely responsible for the climate emergency to take the lead in phasing out fossil fuels, and support our countries in the shift towards renewable energy. Albanese met 3 leaders on his first day on the island of Rarotonga, including the Prime Minister of Tuvalu, Kassi Natano, who described himself as the leader of a country that is going to be under the water, if current trends continue. Albanese promised to work with Natano and argued his Labour government was elected last year, with a platform of taking action on climate change. Natano was later asked by reporters how he felt about Australia approving more coal and gas projects. Well, it's an issue that we are working with Australia to see that we can get him to assist because fossil fuel is the main contributor to global warming, Natano said. Explore more on these topics. Pacific Islands Forum. Pacific Islands. Fossil fuels. News. Most viewed. World. Europe. US. Americas, Asia, Australia, Middle East, Africa, Inequality, Global Development, News, Opinion, Sport, Culture, Lifestyle. Sign up for our email. About us, Help, Complaints and Corrections, Secure Drop, Work for Us, Privacy Policy, Cookie Policy, Terms and Conditions. Contact us. All topics, all writers, Digital Newspaper Archive, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Newsletters. Advertise with us. Guardian Labs. Search jobs.